Alright, this is a little subsection in section 9.2. It's still the basics of factoring, but it's with using a technique called substitution. So when you have a binomial within a trinomial, which looks like a mess, substitution can be helpful. And this is a skill you'll see in college algebra. You'll also see it if you move on to calculus. It's a very handy skill, nice tool to use to make your life a little easier. So the first thing you want to do is make a substitution to simplify the problem. Then you factor with your substitution, and then you replace the substitution with the original expression and simplify. Those steps probably aren't very helpful until we see an example. So what you see here is you have a plus 4, you have this binomial, a plus 4, that's inside the trinomial. So this a plus 4 is the binomial, and then the three bigger terms are the trinomial. So what we like to do to make this easier is we like to do, calculus calls it U substitution. You can use whatever letter you want. They tend to use the letter U, and I'm not sure why, that's just the letter they chose. You can use whatever letter you want, but let's use U because that's probably what you're going to see. We're going to take a plus 4 out of the equation, and we're going to say that the letter U represents the expression a plus 4. So we're going to take that out. So when we see a plus 4, I'm going to replace it with the letter u. So instead of a plus 4 squared, it's going to be u squared, or x squared, or y squared, or whatever letter you want to use. Plus 7. Again, when I see a plus 4, I'm going to replace it with the letter u, and then plus 12. So I'm taking a plus 4 out and replacing it with the letter u. Well, then we're going to factor this much easier expression. And I'm not going to go through all the steps. This one's pretty easy to factor. It factors into u plus 3 and u plus 4. Or x or y or whatever letter you choose to use. Once it's in factored form, you have to replace the substitution. This is the tricky part. Making the substitution is easy. Getting it factored should not be difficult. It's replacing the substitution with the original expression that students either forget about or mess up. So everywhere I see a u, I'm going to replace it back with a plus 4. So instead of u plus 3, I'm going to have a plus 4 plus 3. So the u is now a plus 4 again. And then again, where I see a u here, I'm going to replace that with a plus 4. And it's always good to use parentheses at first, just to make sure you can really see it. And then if you don't need the parentheses, you can drop them. So we don't have a coefficient in here, so I just replaced u back with a plus 4. So the final answer, we're going to go ahead and simplify this. A plus 4 plus 3 is a plus 7, and a plus 4 plus 4 is a plus 8. So we're going to just clean that up, and that is our final answer. So whatever variable you start with in the original expression, you want to make sure you have that variable in your answer. So this is just kind of a mid-step, and then you have to substitute back in. So that can be a little tricky. Let's try it again. Here we have 3 times x plus 1 squared minus 7 times x plus 1 minus 20. So x plus 1 is your binomial. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to replace it with the letter u. U equals x plus 1. So everywhere I see x plus 1, I'm going to replace it with the letter u. So this is going to become 3u squared minus 7u minus 20. I'm going to factor that. And we'll have to use the AC method here so we can find that pair. That's, whoops, negative 60. And we're trying to get to negative 7. I believe that will be negative 12 and positive 5 to get our pair. So that'll be 3u squared minus 12u plus 5u minus 20, factored by grouping. And that gives us 3u plus 5 times u minus 4. And our brains want to be done. Our brains just want to stop right there. But we need to take our answer and we need to sub it back in. So we need to, everywhere I see the letter u down here, this u and that u, need to be replaced with the original expression that it was, x plus 1. So we're going to have 3 times x plus 1, and then plus 5 times x plus 1 minus 4. That looks a little messy. Again, colors can really help. If you want to kind of color code, you replace the u down here with x plus 1 over here. If you have a coefficient, you'll have to distribute. So that's 3x plus 3 plus 5 and x plus 1 minus 4. Then I can clean that up a little bit more, 3x plus 8 and x minus 3. So that would be my final answer, all nice and cleaned up, using the original variable I started with. So if you try to type this into my math lab, it's going to mark it wrong because you're not quite done. You've got to substitute back in. And again, that's where a lot of students either forget to do that part or mess that part up. And colored pencils can come in very handy. Alright, so if you want to try the next one, I do encourage you to try one on your own. Pause the video, try it, then play it back and see how you did. So let's look at the next one. We have 5x plus 1 squared plus 8 times 5x plus 1 plus 7. I'm going to take out 5x plus 1. That's going to give me u squared plus 8u plus 7. This one's easier to factor because the leading coefficient is 1. It factors into u plus 1 and u plus 7. Now I have to go back and replace u with 5x plus 1. And again, if you can't quite follow all that at one time, make sure you kind of color code. I'm replacing the u's with the original expression, 5x plus 1. And then all I have to do from there is clean it up. So that gives me 5x plus 2 times 5x plus 8. And this is always a good technique. If you have something complicated that's repeating, take it out, work the problem without it, then put it back in. And last but not least, we have 2 times a plus 3 squared minus 5 times a plus 3 minus 7. So I'm going to take out a plus 3. So that becomes 2u squared minus 5u minus 7. I'm going to set up my chart to get it factored. Be negative 14 and negative 5. So that's negative 7 and a positive 2. So 2u squared minus 7u plus 2u minus 7. Get it factored. Oops. That'll be plus 1 times 2u minus 7. So that factors into u plus 1 and 2u minus 7. Again, your brain wants to be done because it looks like we've got our back-to-back binomials. But because we need a substitution, we have to substitute it back in. So I'm going to replace this u and this u with a plus 3. So that's going to give me a plus 3 plus 1 and 2 times a plus 3 minus 7. So I replaced a plus 3 and a plus 3. Anytime you have a coefficient on your variable, you're going to have to distribute that coefficient. And then we can clean it up. So it's going to give us a plus 4 times 2a plus 6 minus 7 for a final answer of a plus 4 times 2a minus 1. So I just wanted to make a separate video. I know it's a little shorter, just on factoring by substitution. You will not see it very much in this course, maybe once or twice, but you will see it again in college algebra.